maybe the beach is closer than you think. Discover Campland on the Bay on Mission Bay right here in San Diego. Camp in an RV or tent. Explore the beach. Splash in the pools. Score at the arcade and have lots of fun at all the games and activities, while 24-hour park rangers keep your parents safe. Campland on the Bay. It's the beach in your own backyard.
What if a hospital was a place of healing, filled with art and natural light?
What if emergency care was designed to reduce waiting and stress?
What if every room was private, at no extra cost, and a loved one could spend the night?
What if you wanted your care at the extraordinary new Sharp Memorial Hospital? You choose an affiliated physician at 1-800-82-SHARP or at sharpmemorial.com.
Forget everything you ever knew about hospitals.
Welcome back to beautiful San Diego. We are on the grounds of Mission Bay Park and watching the 36th annual San Diego Crew Classic. Welcome back to beautiful San Diego. Welcome back to the lively Mission Bay grounds. We're looking at event 67, the Women's Collegiate Varsity Invitational Grand Final. And we are having this race covered by 7 cameras throughout the race course, and each individual race is available on DVD shortly after the race is over with, and you can make that purchase just to the right of the Jumbotron in the University and Alumni tent area. So if you'd like to have an outstanding coverage souvenir of this San Diego Crew Classic, stop by the merchandise tent and pick up your DVD of any one of the races run yesterday or today. And you get the expert commentary of both Bob Whitford and Charles Luckman, and follow with the outstanding coverage of the 7 camera locations that we have throughout our grounds. The starting lineup for Women's 6th Collegiate Varsity Invitational Grand Final, it'll be Michigan in lane 1. Southern Cal will be coming out of lane 2. That'll be Washington in lane 3, with Wisconsin moving out of lane 4. Oregon State University pulling down lane 5, and Washington State in lane number 6.
Well, up here at the starting line, there's great anticipation for this women's final. We have 6 of the fastest women's programs in the United States here. Going to be a great race. It could not be better conditions. The calm wind, the perfect water. All the referees are in place to follow this race. The chief referee, Kathleen Crow, has come down to make sure there's no incidents in this race. She'll be following as well. The aligner is making their final alignments, and we are a few minutes away from the start of this Jessop-Whittier Grand Final.
Lane 4 in 1 inch.
All crews have returned to their stake boats. Several of them took advantage of warming up in their lanes before this race, testing the wind direction, finding out what the water felt like. They've all returned back to the stake boats. We anticipate a very exciting race. The first 4 lanes were very competitive in their heats.
Lane 5 in 2 inches. Lane 1 out 1 inch.
As you can imagine, great care has been given to the alignment of this race. We have 3 minutes until the start.
Lane 5 in 2 inches.
The course workers have done a phenomenal job keeping the kelp maintained off the start, off the course. They remove the kelp from the course and place it into a little apparatus called a kelp corral. The kelp corral is then moved downstream and the kelp is released back into the bay. Very still down here at the start. 2
minutes.
The only noise you really hear is the Coast Guard helicopter overhead and the clacking of the blue herons in the rookery right over the aligner's position. The 2 U.S. rowing officials at the side of the race course, the aligners, looking down through their sighting lines, have determined that we do have an alignment. All boats are perfectly aligned, bow ball to bow ball as you look across the course. They raised the green flag and have now turned it over to the starter. Starter is now pulling the crews, making sure that all the crews are in fact in the right lanes and are ready. If they are not, they signal by a hand up, and all hands are down at this point. A hand pops up, another hand pops up. All hands are down.
Attention.
Starter raises the red flag, and a hand pops up. She holds, drops the red flag slowly down in front of her, allows the crews to regain their point. All hands are down.
Attention. Go!
Go! With that, we have the start of the Jessop-Whittier Cup Women's Collegiate Varsity Invitational Grand Final. All boats away from the starting line cleanly. At the 100-meter mark, we look first to lane 3, University of Washington, then lane 1, Michigan, Wisco, USC, and then Oregon State, Washington State. All boats are within 3 seats of each other at this point. Very level, very exciting. At the 250-meter mark, with Washington still maintains a half a deck over lane 1, University of Michigan. The USC pushing back up level with 3rd place, Wisconsin. Then we look outside to Washington State. Oregon State is dropped back by about 7 seats at this point. Other than that, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, and 4, almost dead level now, as Michigan is pushed back up as they settle into the race. Michigan and USC back level with the University of Washington. Then Wisconsin out there, also half a deck length back. Washington State, and Oregon State are still in the hunt. Oregon State now is 7 seats back on Washington State. So as we approach the 500-meter mark, it will be too close to call. All boats level. Michigan, USC, and Washington as they cross the 500-meter mark. Wisconsin 1 seat down outside to Washington State, which is 4 seats down, and Oregon State University, which is 6 seats down on Washington State. As we come across the 600-meter mark, all 3 boats, Michigan, USC, Washington level, Wisconsin just a shade back at this point. Still in the hunt outside is Washington State, and Oregon State is 6 seats down. As we approach the 750-meter mark, Michigan has moved in by 2 feet over USC and the University of Washington and Wisco. It's a great boat race. Over to you at the finish.
Quickly with our lane assignments, Michigan in lane 1 currently on the lead, USC in lane 2 threatening, and Washington in lane 3 also in the hunt. Then comes lane 4, Wisconsin. Oregon State is in 5 and Washington State is in 6.
Yes, the only crew from yesterday's heats to break 6 minutes 40 was the University of Michigan in lane 1. Looks like their men, they got off to a slightly slower start today, and it was the University of Washington and the University of California that took up the early pace. But Michigan have clawed that back and now have a lead of a few feet. And as they come down towards the 1,000-meter mark, it is a real boat race across the course. Michigan have a slight lead over the University of Southern California, but that University of Southern California are being challenged by Washington, and University of Wisconsin are right in it too. The 2 boats that are slightly, but only slightly trailing, are Oregon State and Washington State.
As they came through 1,000 meters, you could almost play connect the dots and get a completely straight line out of it. It is University of Michigan on the shoreline with a slight edge over Washington out there in lane number 3. But certainly Wisconsin has moved up and challenging Southern California. Then on the outside, it is Washington State, and Oregon State, if anything, is falling back slightly. But this is a tremendous race and the most closely contested race that we've had to this point.
Yes, this is where it's going to be won and lost, the third 500. This is where the crews will be digging deep and really trying to win the race before they get to the last 500 meters. Once you get to that last 500 meters, it's difficult to come over the top of somebody. Not impossible, but it's the University of Michigan that seem to have dug. They've put in a really big push here in the third 500 and seem to have moved away slightly from the University of Southern California, with the crews on the outside staying with USC, but not staying with Michigan.
Michigan along the shoreline, continuing to expand their lead ever so slightly. It is Washington and lane number 3 and Southern Cal in lane number 2, almost stroke for stroke, but they better not lose track of Wisconsin out in lane 4. They have done the most closing of ground during the previous 750 meters, and then outside, Oregon State has begun to come up on Washington State as we enter inside 500 meters to go in our 2,000-meter race. It is Michigan along the shoreline. Outside to Washington. Southern Cal and Wisconsin are almost bow point to bow point.
Very tight between Washington and Southern Cal for the second spot at the moment. But Michigan have gone into the last 500 with a, in the context of this race, a significant lead, and they're hanging on to it, powering the strokes down. And the rest of the field are coming back because Oregon State and Washington State are putting in big pushes on the far side and are starting to threaten Wisconsin and Washington.
Michigan along the shoreline continues to hang on to that lead, but you could almost draw a line straight across every bow marker to get to Washington. Southern Cal outside to Wisconsin, Oregon State, and even on the far outside, Washington State. As Charles mentioned, a little difficult to jump up and pass any crew this short into the race or with this less amount of distance to go. But Michigan is continuing to hang on to the lead. Washington has picked it up on the outside. It is Wisconsin has eclipsed Southern Cal. Then out to the far outside, it is Oregon State and Washington State. This is Michigan. Michigan with about a 5-seat lead, followed by Washington. It is Wisconsin jumping up into that third position, Southern Cal, and then outside to Oregon State and Washington State. Along the shoreline, it appears that Michigan will have fought off a valiant effort, being challenged by Washington. Washington apparently and unofficially will come in second. Then outside, it's almost too close to call between Wisconsin and Southern Cal, with Oregon State coming in fifth and Washington State with a valiant row coming in on the outside. Once again, unofficially, it looks like Michigan is our winner. University of Washington in second spot. Too close to call between Wisconsin and Southern Cal, and then outside to Oregon State and Washington State. We'll be checking in on the race start for event 68 shortly. We had an excellent, outstanding race there, and we'd like to mention once again that DVDs of each individual race are available 15 to 20 minutes after the race has been completed. They are available in the merchandise tent just to the north of the Jumbotron TV screen. Also like to mention that on May 7th, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, ESPNU will broadcast the San Diego Crew Classic highlights, and that will be an hour program on May the 7th, ESPNU. Goldfield Stage is one of the fine sponsors of the San Diego Crew Classic. They're providing shuttle service today. Goldfield Stage is the perfect choice for a company outing or wedding or wine tour, whether you need to move 15 or hundreds. Next time you have transportation needs, check out goldfieldstage.com and ride the wave in style. Our starting lane assignments for race number 68, the Men's Collegiate Varsity Invitational Grand Final, is Stanford University in lane 1. Washington will be pulling out of lane 2. It will be Cal in lane 3. Harvard in lane 4. Out there in lane 5, it'll be Princeton. And on the far outside, Brown University.
Lane 1, Stanford. Lane 2, Washington. Lane 3 and 2 inches. Lane 4 and 2 inches. Lane 5, Princeton. Lane 6, Brown. 5 minutes.
5 minutes to start. 5 minutes.
Lane 4 in 1 foot.
The crew under pressure in the grand final of the Copley Cup will be the crew in lane 2, the University of Washington. And I say they'll be under pressure because they're currently ranked number 1 in the nation. But Stanford in lane 1 and Berkeley in lane 3, who are ranked respectively number 5 and number 3 in the nation, will be looking to overtake them in the rankings based on the result of this race.